When my mom was young, her dad used to be abusive, beating her in the car or in the house or anywhere else. All because he had a bad day at work while her mom was mentally abusive. They consider themselves Catholics. I said that wasn't being Christian because that's not Christ-like. She argued with me saying even the nuns hit her in the back of the head with a ruler because they was teaching humility. And I quoted Jesus Christ saying, "Do unto others as you want done unto you." Later on, my mom married to get out of the house and saved all her money for a car, and they moved into an apartment top floor. And when he was gone, he went out to do drugs. And when my dad got my mom pregnant, he went out to cheat on her with a bunch of other females, getting them pregnant also. But she decided to stay with him after me and my brother was born, even though God allows divorce after unfaithfulness. Plus his parents were telling her to get an abortion, and I would have been in heaven a lot sooner. But she knew it was against God, even though he could forgive her for that if she asked for it in Jesus' name. She finally had enough of him when he tried to throw me off the balcony to make it look like an accident. That's when she finally talked about divorce, and he got so mad he went down there to beat up her car with a baseball bat. She finally divorced him, but he couldn't get alimony or child support because his dad was a cop. After this, me and my brother had a lot of action-packed journeys. If you want to know more, please let me know. This is a real true story about my brother, cousins, and I. Preteens.
The report says my dad, your grandpa, died outside, but my sister said he died inside. He did die inside, there's proof.
We're on the car boat, we're having fun. Oh, we're on the road now. Woohoo! Yeah, yeah. Oh, now we're transforming to a plane. You cool, bro?
Woo! Did you know this place is haunted?
This is what your grandparents used to say. Mom, the boat fell down and broke.
There's no broken bulb. There's only one generator for the kitchen.
Then who was that guy in here?
Yeah. We didn't see no guy in here. Do us a favor and play outside. How many of you seen the light on in the shed?
I have.
Let's check it out.
The bulb is blown out.
I don't see a light bulb.
I warned you. Now you're mine.
Welcome to the collective.
My nightmare was, I was at my grandparents' big house, but they didn't live in a two-story house. And I had this nightmare a few times, that I would wake up, go upstairs, and see dead bodies hiding tucked in the corners. My other nightmare...
You just crossed over into Twilight Zone. You unlock this door with the key of imagination.
I spend the night in the grandparents' house.
Random nightmares. What's that little man putting wallpaper on my wall? And how does this light switch turn automatically on? After the sins of my dad, we have to learn to live poorly. We lived in a black neighborhood, even though we didn't know what that means. We didn't even know what male and female meant back then. We were so young. Even though we wasn't prejudiced, the blacks was racist against us. And this is what happened when we went out for our walk back in the 70s. Get them! They're white! Not really understanding what was going on, we really had to learn fast that they didn't like white people. So we quickly run away in a panic. As they was trying to beat down the door, when we was all holding the door so they won't break it down, she was calling the cops. When the police was too scared to do anything about it by not even leaving their cars, we learned fast that they wasn't going to help us. After the police left, the blacks finally got tired and left. The next day, my brother went outside alone. I witnessed how they put my brother in the tricycle and rolled him down the steps with it. My brother got scared and hid in the bushes, and that's when they ganged up on him. I grabbed them to run home with them, and that's when they ganged up on the both of us. We fought back the best we could and still lost, but we managed to escape. And it was the first time my brother and I learned how to fight back in Freehold, New Jersey. Next, our family moved into this poor white neighborhood, thinking it would be much better. The apartment we lived in was in the front near the streets, and the playground was way in the back of the apartments. We was told we could play in it since we live at these apartments. As my brother and I went to play in the playground, we noticed it was all free for us. I didn't know why, and my brother didn't care. And while we was having fun, we noticed all the kids was looking at us through the apartments. And that's when we found out why why they didn't come down to play. And that's when two bully guys came up and said, "What are you doing in our playground?" And I said, "We was told we were allowed to play here." And the bigger one said, "Where do you live?" And I said, "We live in the front of the apartments." He said, "Anybody that lives in front of the apartments cannot go in the back of the apartments to play in the playground." However, my brother kept on swinging on the swings. And the guy that's between mine and my brother's size, and he grabbed my brother's chain while he was going backwards and knocked the wind out of him, where he couldn't hardly breathe. Then I remembered my mother saying, "If there's any trouble, walk away from it." Howsoever, it did not work, because they grabbed us, and since we wasn't no strangers in fighting, we fought back. But the guy bigger than my brother beat him down, while the biggest guy beat me down. And they said, "Let that teach you a lesson so you'll never come back here again." And they was saying that while we was carrying each other back home. The next morning, my mom was like, "Why don't you two play in the playground again?" And we told her a short version of two guys kicking us out because they said we didn't belong there. She asked, "How big are these guys?" As soon as I said I'm bigger than one of them, then she said, "Then you could handle it. Or do you want me to talk to their parents?" And we said no, because we didn't know their parents were troublemakers. And when we went outside, it gave me an idea what she said. I said, "Jason, I got a plan." I said, "While you're fighting the big guy, I'll beat the other guy down, and I'll help you beat the other guy down." And we both thought it was a good plan. And when they noticed us, they said, "You didn't learn last time, so we're here to teach you another lesson." And my plan seemed to be working when I beat the other guy down. But as soon as I turned around, I noticed my brother was down. Even though we was weakened by the fight, I still tried to fight him anyways, and I went down. After coming home from fighting, we learned our cousins was going to spend the night because they're in the middle of moving. The next day, I gave them board games to play. After that, we played one of their games. Then one of them said, "We're getting bored. Isn't there a playground we could play in?" I said, "We don't want to go there." Then one of them said, "Why not?" Then I said, "We're tired of being beat." Then one of them said, "What do you mean by that?" Then we told them what happened. Then my oldest cousin came up with a plan, telling us to go out there first and they'll back us up later. As we went out there first, I was nervously thinking, how's our cousins gonna fight? They're girls. And hoping they didn't set us up to get beat up again. And the bullies came out second, saying, "Let's beat them again till they learn their lesson." Thinking, I don't like to fight, but I will fight if I have to. Then thankfully, my cousins came up next. And my oldest cousin said, "Do you got a problem with them?" And one of them said yes, and she said, "Then you got a problem with me." When they turned around and saying how big they was, they took off running. Then all of a sudden, all the kids came out to play like it should have been played with. The next morning, our cousins was telling us, "We almost finished moving and we're going to be leaving soon. So the plan is to do the same thing again, so this way they would think that we might be around the next time they try this again." And trusting our cousins, so we did do what they said. And when the other kids seen that we was out there, they all came out playing on the playground again. And when the bullies came out, they said, "Where's your cousins now to protect you all?" As soon as our cousins heard that, they came up to the right side of the apartments from us. They took off saying, "Just checking." The next morning they said, "This is our last day with you two. This time we're going to wait a little longer to come to the left side of you both." And so we did. And then the rest of them came out to play. And then the bullies, they stayed their distance while they was looking around. He said, "Where's your cousins now?" Where they quickly turned around and watched out for them. Not seeing them, they said, "I guess your cousins finally left you both." They came out to the right side of us and said, "Guess again." And they was gone. The next day the bullies found out that my cousins were truly gone after they looked for a long time. The rest of the kids circled us chanting, "Fight." I told my brother to make it look good like the last plan we had. But that plan wound up working the same way like it did before. The next day only half of them came out and the others were looking out through their apartments. I told them the plan I told my brother, saying, "Why we must fight alone for you all to play in the playground, for we all could get together and gang up on those bullies." But they said, "I don't want to get hurt or go to the hospital or even get punched." And then when we seen the bullies coming, we all left. After that, she found a cheaper place to live in, saying that we're getting in too many fights, so we got to move somewhere where there isn't any. And then we started school. Like you can see in this map, in one of the bus stops, on the bottom right where the bus is at, where we could be dropped off early and have a longer walk home, or have a longer ride and have a shorter walk home. So I tried to strategize this by finding out who would make it home first. I was dropped off from the longer walk, and my brother was dropped off of the shorter walk. And for some strange reason, he got home first. But I wasn't quite convinced. Then I told my brother, let's do the opposite. And the next day we did. As I rode to the last bus stop, me and this guy got off the bus. And this guy wound up being a typical bully by saying, don't eat tomorrow, only give me your lunch money. Then we went our separate ways, only to find out why my brother was getting home first. He wasn't walking, he was running home. And I told my brother about the bullying, and he said he had the same problem. Then I told him, in that case, we'll just get off early and have a longer walk home. But if he does get off with us, he's only one bully and we could gang up on him. And the next day we got off early, and so did the bully, asking, you two, where's my lunch money? Then I snapped and I picked up the metal garbage lid. He took off running as I threw it at him. But I missed, but at least he knew we were serious enough not to play that game. By the fourth day of us getting off the bus, this is what happened. The big guy said, I heard you was picking on my brother. And I said, he was trying to pick on us to get our lunch money. He said, I don't care. If I hear you picking on my brother again, I'm going to beat the both of you up myself. At the fifth day, I got off the bus, and so did the bully. My brother noticed it and decided to stay in the bus until he got dropped off later. When I wasn't noticing, he went home to grab his bike to chase me down with it. Then I ran up to this rich person's looking house. When I was banging on the door, I said, help me. He said, shh, why are you trying to be so loud? I said, you trying to get money out of me that I don't have to give because I don't get lunch money. And then he rode off, but I was sure glad I didn't tell him about our lunch tickets. And then we moved yet again. And when my mom started dating a few times, she finally made up with this guy that was going to soon be our stepdad. My mom wanted more quality time with him, so she signed me up for Cub Scouts. The Cub Scouts leader showed us our cabin. And with me that pays no attention and don't have no sense of direction, that's a bad combination. So I got mixed up by one group after another. Hey, you don't belong to my group. I suggest you go to your own. And then I got lost. And when I seen the light upstairs, I thought it was a good thing, so I went up. And when I looked through this glass sliding doors, I was noticing older kids in there, and it was Boy Scouts, and I was hoping they helped me out. And as they was leaving, I noticed two guys noticed me. The white guy ran and quickly opened the sliding doors, knocked me down, and the guy grabbed my throat and tried to push me off the edge while I grabbed onto the railings of the balcony, where I seen a lot of broken furniture down there. And the white guy said, I always get away with killing people. And his black friend said, how come you always gotta kill people you meet? Let this one go. And he did. And I've been nervous about heights ever since. Instructor helped bring me back. The next morning, I noticed I was being stalked by the same guy. Paying attention to this, I wound up being lost again. He came chasing me, so I ran off trying to zigzag through the buildings to lose him. At this point, I found a building with an indoor pool, and I always wanted to jump off the highest diving board. Even though I was worried about heights, I built up the courage to go to the last minute before everybody left. After I seen people start to leave, I jumped. As soon as I hit the bottom, I used my feet and legs to push me up. That's when I realized I made a mistake because that stalking bully killer was there. I've got you now. As I was swimming away, I heard him running. He was right in front of me, saying, you gotta come out sometime. Face it, no matter where you go, I'm gonna be right there. And I quickly thought I was a good underwater swimmer, and I didn't think he would see me, but he did. And because of panic, I wasn't thinking right. When I was getting up to get out and breathe, he was using his hand or hands to push me down to drown me. I was thinking, I'm a good underwater swimmer, so I swam down deeper. As soon as I got up from the middle, there's a lifeguard checking and locking the place down. As soon as he heard this, he tried to leave, but she caught him saying, what are you doing in here? He said, I was telling the other guy that he shouldn't be swimming there, he needs to get out. And then I left. And I finally got home and my mom asked, how did it go? And I only gave her a mean look. All this happened in the late 70s, early 80s. Even though I wasn't a Christian back then, I give God the credit to make me a survivor. I'm sure I'm not the only one.